If you've been in the music industry long enough, you've probably at least once felt like you've been stuck in a loop of the same setback. Now, most of us start to look outward and place blame on others, but I think the quickest way to break this cycle is to ask yourself one simple question. Am I learning the right lessons from my mistakes? What's up, y'all? I'm Travis Ferentz, a Grammy-nominated recording engineer and mixer, and on this channel, I have set out to help music industry newcomers and veterans alike build the career that they want, and hopefully skip some of the mistakes that I made along the way. So let's get into it. What do I mean by learn the right lesson? I'm essentially talking about having the stomach to objectively reflect on what you've done wrong so that you can actually learn from it. Now, let's be honest. People do not like to be wrong, and just the thought of reflecting on what we did wrong is enough to make most of us cringe. But if you're unwilling to identify what actually went wrong in a situation, how are you ever going to not make that same mistake again? So the first step to learning the right lesson is to reflect on your failures. It's okay if you need a second to separate, but what's important is that you're willing to objectively reflect on what went wrong in a particular situation. Approach it as if you're giving advice to a friend, except that friend is you just a couple days earlier. The next step is to be sure you're asking yourself the right questions about what went wrong. And when you're doing this, it's important to drill down deeper into the problem so that you can really be sure you're going to learn from it. Now, if you don't know where to start with this, you can try this with a technique called the 5 whys. Now, I think it's pretty self-explanatory by the title, but you basically ask yourself why 5 times, and at that point, you should reach the root cause of the issue. Let's do an example from my career. A few years ago, I was doing a mix for an artist. I absolutely crushed it, at least I thought so. And the day after I sent the first mix, I was promptly fired from the whole album because I went in the complete wrong direction, which absolutely caught me off guard because we had had a whole conversation about what the direction was before I started. So let's run the 5 whys on this. I got fired from the mix. Why? Because I missed the vibe they were going for. Why? Because I felt like I was given free rein to do my own thing to the track. Why? Because the artist said their rough mix was just some basic levels and no real mixing. Why would they say that? Because I told them that my general philosophy is to keep the artist's vision intact and to take inspiration from the rough mix. Aha. There's the issue. I said I was going to do one thing, and then I did something completely different, all because he and I had some miscommunication. Now, I could have easily just stopped at I missed the vibe and not really accepted any responsibility and just chalked it up to they didn't know what they wanted. But I would have never learned the right lesson from this mistake, which in this case is to be absolutely sure that everybody is on the same page. And I've never made the same mistake again, because once you start drilling down on your mistakes like this, you'll find that you don't have repeat issues because you've actually identified the root cause and you've actually solved the problem. This is what taking a growth mindset approach to your career looks like. You're always trying to improve. You're always trying to get better, even when it's hard. Actually, especially when it's hard, because that's when you're going to grow the most. Now, it's super easy to analyze your wins. Everybody wants to sit around a table and try to figure out why a release was a huge success or why a repeat client continues to come back. And yes, there are plenty of things to learn from analyzing our successes, but I promise you that the ROI on time spent analyzing and eliminating repeated missteps in your career is going to pay off so much more in the long run. If you're into exploring more about incorporating growth mindsets into your music career, then check out this video I did earlier this year about giving yourself permission to succeed.